People, you may have attended last month's networking event on the Working with Children check. So, Morgan Lander is Acting Senior Project Officer with the Child Safe Organisations team and at the Commission for Children and Young People. The Child Safe team are responsible for education and compliance projects throughout New South Wales. Prior to joining the Commission in 2010, he was an education officer within the Child Protection Unit at New South Wales Sports and Rec, and started his career at Stewart House on the northern beaches of Sydney, conducting respite care programs for a wide range of kids in New South Wales. So let's welcome Morgan.
We planned this session sort of mid last year almost. We started the ball rolling. And typically our child safe organisations training looks at having children and young people as clients, members, customers. But we wanted to focus today on more your engaging youth and young people as a volunteer and trying to make that environment as sound as possible and as comforting and welcoming as possible for your organisation. From a facilitating point of view, I'm very relaxed. We're going to have a lot of discussion today. I'm going to ask you a few questions along the way. It'll be show of hands, who has these sorts of tools, or can you give me an example of how that's worked well. We don't judge any organisation. So if I ask you, do you have a code of conduct or a complaints procedure or a risk management plan, and you don't put your hand up, I'm not going to be finding out your organisation's name and turning up later on and saying what's going on. Effectively, your only legal obligation under our legislation is the Working with Children check. And the last slide today is quickly summarising what the Working with Children check will be as of next month. There are quite significant reforms that are coming into place. During the break, halfway through, as well as after today's session, if you need any more information, come and see me. I've run out of business cards about 2 months ago, and I'm still waiting for some new ones, but we've been out and about in New South Wales for the last 6 months, and we've had a huge demand for this sort of training, as well as the Working with Children check training. We're going to just roll through a range of scenarios. I am going to be talking about some examples that are very recently in the media. It hasn't been a good week for sports in New South Wales and child sexual assault allegations in regards to their members, and it's an area I'll touch on. Some of the content is quite hard hitting, and we sort of had an internal ethics debate 2 years ago about whether we do sort of discuss the real horrific cases and the way in which children are harmed. And across the board within our organisation, we agreed that we can't sugarcoat the message, and we can't sort of sit there and say, you know, a child safe organisation prevents these sorts of harm without actually giving you guidance as to how people have harmed children. This week, the 3 cases that I'll discuss, all 3 scenarios, people build a very strong rapport and reputation within an organisation before they then go on to try and target children. So the media is covering quite significantly one case in a dance, junior dance industry. Everyone's coming out to work and saying, great guy, thought he was fantastic, thought it was a little bit strange, some of the things he did, but didn't really think to raise an alarm. So we're literally monitoring 3 parents' blogs this afternoon. My manager just emailed me another concerning comment where there's a range of people coming forward and saying, oh, this person ran an organisation that was dedicated to children, didn't run it particularly well in regard to their professional standards, but they're the best of the best in the industry. So we won't question the way in which they behave or the way that they establish their organisation. And now people are coming out and saying, oh, you know, we didn't like that, we didn't like this. So we'll talk about a couple of examples. What we're going to focus on is making young people, and historically there isn't really a minimum age of people volunteering. You know, look at Clean Up Australia Day. I remember being way back in year 1 or year 2 doing Clean Up Australia Day activities, and essentially that is a form of volunteering. So we're not going to gear it towards 15, 16, 17 year olds. Essentially, you know, ask questions about different age groups. If you have any queries as to how to engage people, not only does the Centre for Volunteering have some great resources, we've got a couple of fact sheets and tools and guides online, like you'll see in the information package I provided, which is called Citizen Me, and it gives you strategies and resources on how to engage young people. And one of the biggest areas when you talk about child protection and a child safe organisation is empowering young people to feel confident and safe to come forward and question certain things, or to provide feedback, or even to have the confidence to say, I don't appreciate the way I'm being treated and I want to raise that either with the individual or the organisation. I know when I first joined the workforce as a 14-year-old working for Woolworths, I would never have questioned what my manager asked me to do because I was terrified of them. So I think nowadays, I mean, we've come a long way in the last 20 years since then. But if your organisation supports young people and wants to engage them, one of the key strengths that you can establish from a child safe point of view is to actually empower them to say, if you ever feel scared, threatened or harmed, raise that alarm with us. It's not a negative message you're providing to them, it's actually demonstrating transparency. And it's saying that we welcome you into the organisation, but everyone has rights. You might be the youngest person here, you might be starting out at the lowest rank or lowest involvement, and you may have managers and supervisors, but essentially you need to feel comfortable and safe while you're here. And then they'll go away, and whether they sort of pay much attention to those structures and processes or whether they don't, they'll talk to other young people about how they do feel included and encouraged within that organisation, and that will hopefully grow your sort of pool and database of people that you can engage with. So please do ask questions along the way. Don't think that you can't ask a question. I'm a very relaxed type of facilitator. I'm fairly confident that everyone in the room can read. I used to work with Mark, so I can sometimes assist him with his comprehension. But essentially, I'm not going to sit here and dictate to you what's on the PowerPoint. We use it as a guide and as a structure. Every session is different. So ask any questions. One of my biggest frustrations as a facilitator is someone coming to me in the break and saying, oh, I wanted to ask you a question, but it was silly or it's dumb. There are no silly questions. Whatever you're thinking, someone else is likely to be thinking, and if they're not, it's a really good example of the way in which we can expand the dialogue and the discussion that we're having.